Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Rose and today I'm going to be talking about why I still live at home with my parents at the age of 26, what circumstances kind of led me to still be living at home, and then I'll get into what my home life is like. And also I wanted to talk a bit about why you shouldn't feel bad or be ashamed if you also live at home and don't want to be, because I think there's a stigma around living at home with your parents in your 20s or 30s, and I think it's easy to feel ashamed or embarrassed of it, especially when you see people who are really young, like fresh out of high school or fresh out of college, buying houses or moving out right after graduating, and you kind of feel like your life is behind in a way. And I don't think that's true, but I'll get into that more. But yeah, I guess I'll just start off talking about why I still live at home. So when I was younger, I wanted to move out the minute I turned 18, but then I ended up going to college and I was commuting to college, so it didn't make sense for me to move out, and I couldn't really afford to move out while I was going to college because even though I had a scholarship and financial aid, I was still paying a lot of my tuition out of pocket, so all the money I made working was pretty much going towards my tuition and also towards my car payments. And I was pretty depressed throughout college. I was in a weird time in my life, and then I decided I wanted to fulfill one of my life dreams of studying abroad. So I made a commitment to myself that I was going to do that even though I was pretty broke, and I managed to save a lot of money by working full-time and going to college at the same time. So I pretty much used all of my savings to study abroad my last semester of college. So after I got back from studying in France, I had no savings left, and I continued to work full-time at the fast food job I had throughout college. And I actually moved out again this September right after I graduated, so I'd only been home for a few months, and I just really couldn't take the environment at my house anymore, and I was desperate, so I decided to find a roommate online and move in with a stranger pretty much. And she was very nice, but I just didn't make enough money and I didn't have any savings, so I started having to put a lot of my life expenses and groceries on a credit card, and then I started racking up credit card debt, and 6 months later I had to move back home because I realized it was just not feasible for me to be paying rent. I just could not afford it, and I've been at home ever since. And I used to feel really bad about living at home. I kind of felt like everyone else I knew, and even people who are years younger than me, were moving out right after college or even before they graduated college, and they were renting apartments or houses with their friends, or they were buying a house with their boyfriend, and I kind of just felt like I was behind and like a loser. But you should never feel embarrassed or ashamed for living at home because renting is so expensive now, and it's so hard to buy your own house too. So I really don't see anything wrong with living with your parents for as long as you can so that you can save money and just focus on saving. There's really nothing wrong with it, and I think we all go through life at a different pace. We're all going on our own separate journeys, and our lives all have different timelines, and we all live life at a different pace. And that doesn't mean the way you're living your life is wrong just because it's different than someone else. And I think what's meant for you will always come at the right time for you. So you should not feel bad about living at home because you're not going to be living at home forever. And just think of it as time to save money and not be stressed about making rent payments, and just a time to prepare yourself financially for the future. I think it's actually a lot more common than you think to live at home with your parents, even if you know a lot of people who have moved out. I know a lot of people actually end up moving back in with their parents after moving out because they can't afford the price of their rent, or just something in their life happens that makes them less financially stable. So yeah, it's really nothing to be embarrassed about or to feel ashamed of. And as long as you get along with your parents and it's a healthy environment, I think it's great to live with your parents. And I know in some cultures it's actually normal to have multiple generations living in one house. But yeah, there's really nothing wrong with living with your parents for as long as you can. But in my case, my house is not a healthy environment, which is why I was so desperate to move out after college. And I've never really talked about this publicly before. I don't even tell my friends about my home life because it's kind of embarrassing in a way to me, and it's very personal, and I'm always just afraid if I open up too much that people won't understand, or they'll just feel pity for me, and I always feel uncomfortable when people pity me. I don't, want to just be that person that's really negative all the time and feeling bad for themselves, and I don't want to bring other people down and make them feel sad or make them feel bad for me like I have it horrible. So I don't really like to talk about negative stuff, and I also normally like to keep my YouTube pretty positive, and I don't want to complain too much and bring other people down because I know we all have different problems in our life. But I will talk a bit about my living situation and why it is so frustrating to me that I do still live at home, because my dad is a very narcissistic and verbally abusive person. Another reason why I've never talked about this before is I always worry that like someone I know or a relative will see this video, and I don't obviously want him to ever see this because that would cause a lot of problems. Just living here, it is such a negative environment. He also has a lot of hoarding tendencies, so just I get very overwhelmed by all the clutter because there's just stuff and junk everywhere, and like in the kitchen, and then like out on our porch is all a bunch of garbage. There's all this junk in our backyard, and it's just very stressful to me to be around like that level of clutter all the time. And then in addition to that, like I said, he's very verbally abusive, like calling me and my family members names, screaming at us, throwing temper tantrums, breaking things, throwing our stuff out. It's just a very toxic environment. And since I've lived here basically my entire life, sometimes I get very down and depressed that I'm still here because, growing up, I always thought like 18 was the magic age and that once I turned 18, I could be out of here and I wouldn't have to be stressed anymore. But that just wasn't the case, obviously, since I'm still here. I always try to stay positive and try to have faith that I will find somewhere else to live and that things will work out for the better in the end. But sometimes it's just so hard to stay positive, and living here just causes me so much stress. And sometimes I do feel sorry for myself, which obviously doesn't help anything, it just makes things worse. But it is very hard sometimes because I will lose a bit of hope, and sometimes I get bitter too because I'll be thinking to myself, like, why is it that I'm 26 and I'm still broke? My college degree was in marketing and I couldn't find a job in marketing. I work a general insurance office job. It's a pretty simple job, so it doesn't pay very well. It doesn't take a lot of skill to do it, in my opinion. So they don't pay me very well, and it just gets very discouraging that I'm not able to find a higher paying job, and that I've struggled to save money because I want to be out of here so badly. I've been trying to rent somewhere with my mom and my younger brother, but we need to find somewhere with 3 bedrooms. And we also need to find somewhere that allows pets because we have multiple pets. It can be difficult to find a pet-friendly place and something within our budget because none of us make a lot of money. And I was really excited a month back because we saw a small 3-bedroom house in our area for $12.50, which is a great price, and we went and we saw it, and the kitchen was really cute. I really liked it, and we applied, but at the time my brother was working a job off the books and the application was asking for pay stubs. So I just didn't put him on the application since we couldn't use his income, and then it turned out that for some reason on the application they only asked for my pay stubs, but then when my mom, as the second applicant, filled out her part, it didn't ask for her pay stubs. So basically I found out that I should have just put my brother on the application and just put his income because they weren't verifying it. And he also started a job the following week that was on the books anyway. But because I only put my income and my mom's income on the application, they ended up rejecting us and giving the house to someone else. They said that our income did not meet their rental requirements because they require you to make 3 times the rent, and both of our incomes did not equal that. And that was just so disappointing for me. I was crushed because it's the closest we've ever came to finding a place in our area that allows pets, and that's within our budget, and I was just so disappointed, and it was just really depressing to hear that we didn't even make enough to afford a $1,200 house, because where I live, that is very cheap for rent, and all the other places I see are $1,500 plus. So I was so bummed out about that. I really wanted to get that house, but basically I've learned to just handle the rejection, and I'm just hoping that it happened for a reason and that something better is coming along that's meant for us and will work out better. So yeah, I just have to keep moving forward and I have to keep going. And if you're in a similar situation, my heart goes out to you. I know a lot of people deal with having narcissistic parents or abusive parents. And I know some people are in an even worse situation than I am, which makes me sad to think about. So if you're in a similar situation, I'm really sending all the positive vibes to you, and I wish you good luck, and I hope that you are able to get out of your toxic living environment soon, and I hope I'm able to get out of this situation soon too. But yeah, it's just a very tricky situation, and also I'm currently letting my mom borrow my car, so it makes things more difficult because we can't move too far away since we're sharing a car right now. So kind of have to stick a little bit close to our current jobs. We can't go move like 40 minutes away. So there aren't really a lot of options in the area that we live in because we live in sort of a more rural area, and we're kind of trying to stick in this area so that we don't have to try to figure out a long commute to work. Yeah, I'm just really hoping that something turns up because there are really not many options in this area at all, especially ones that are pet friendly, and the things I do see are way out of our price range. Near where we live, there is a richer area, and so there are a lot of big houses or mansions for rent, but the rent is obviously very expensive, like $4,000 plus, which we could never afford. But I'm trying to not get discouraged, and if you're in a similar situation, just don't give up. You just have to keep going and have faith that something will come along for you. And that's really all you can do, is believe and believe in yourself, because moping and feeling sorry for yourself will really not help, which I do it sometimes. I actually was last night. I was having the worst anxiety thinking about not being able to move out of here soon, and I couldn't fall asleep last night thinking about it, but I felt a lot better this morning, and I'm ready to just keep pushing forward. But if you live at home and your parents are kind people and you get along well, there's really nothing wrong with it. As I said, I'm trying to rent with my mom and my brother, so even once I move out, I'm not going to, be living on my own technically. I'm still going to be rooming with my mom and brother, so, and I don't think anything's wrong with that. I love my mom and no problem living with her. And there's really nothing wrong with living with your family members as long as they're not toxic and it's a healthy environment. So I hope this video was helpful if you're going through something similar, and I hope people can relate to this, and if you are going through something similar, that it makes you feel less alone and maybe less bad about your own situation. So yeah, comment down below and let me know if you're going through something similar and what you're going through. I hope this video wasn't too negative or depressing, because I never want to bring someone down from watching one of my videos, but if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. Also, I have a podcast where I offer basic life advice and tips on positive thinking, so if you're interested in hearing me talk more about that, I will have it linked in the description below. It's available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'm trying to get more consistent with uploading to the podcast. I want to upload episodes once per week. So yeah, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video and let me know what you thought. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.